And so you can also wake up at the corner of this is everything I said I wanted, and this isn't it at all. And that admitting it to yourself is actually the hard part. The
Mm,
quitting wasn't the hard part. The admitting it was the hard part. Because
mhm.
when I admitted it, I had to be okay with what are people going to think of me?
Of course. Yep.
And I will tell you, one of those women that I had a seat at the table with, who was a baller, I mean, her resume is like ridiculous, called me on the phone and said, "You're making the biggest mistake of your career." Yeah. Like, I choked back tears, got off the phone with her, cried. Like, I have spent money on therapy to get over how she said that to me.
Like the worst possible thing you could ever see happening.
The worst possible thing. Because here I'm thinking I'm taking control of my life, and a woman who I adore, who did break glass ceilings, who literally became the first woman at a Fortune 5 company, said, you're effing this up. So it's not necessarily the courage to quit, it's the courage to admit it. And it's the courage to say, I actually think there's something else for me, and I'm going to be okay going to chase it. I'm going to go pursue it.
Welcome to Always and Never About the Money. Are you ready to embark on a journey that will forever change the way you perceive money? Well, get ready because we're about to dive deep into the fascinating world of finances and human behavior. I'm your host, Chelsea Williams and Money Whisperer. I'm here to help you realize what your money story is telling you and how you can change it. But hold on tight, because this is not the dull black and white talk about money. We're going to splash all the color into this typical nap-inducing conversation. On Always and Never About the Money, we're going to explore the intricate relationship between money and our daily lives. From the impact history has left on us and how we still manage it, how your habits shape your money, and what beliefs are driving your habits, choices, and relationships, to the deeper values and emotions we've come to attach to it. We're going to unravel it all. Through insightful conversation and personal anecdotes, we'll bring you the expert insights, real-life stories, and meaningful thought-provoking ideas that will inspire you, educate you, and initiate some serious perspective change when it comes to your money. Remember, money is just a tool. Together, we'll untangle the web of emotions, beliefs, and values we've come to attach to it and find a new perspective on how it can enhance our lives. So whether you're looking for motivation, practical advice, or a good laugh, Always and Never About the Money's got you covered. Thank you for joining us in this transformative journey. Get ready to challenge your beliefs and embark on a financial exploration like no other. Without further ado, let's kick off the episode of Always and Never About the Money. Welcome back to Always and Never About the Money. I am, of course, your host, Chelsea Williams, and today we're diving into a conversation that's going to shake up the way you see your skills, your path, and most importantly, your financial future. I've got the incredible Caytie Langford with me, and trust me, this is not a conversation you want to miss. We're talking about persistence, play, and how to lean into what lights you up, even if that means embracing your inner badass. Because yes, that's a superpower. But here's the real reason you want to stick around until the end. We're diving into one of the most important financial moments in history, the greatest wealth transfer the world has ever seen. Trillions of dollars are shifting hands, and if you're a woman, this is your wake-up call. Why? Because this moment is yours to claim, if you know how to step up and take control. We'll break down what's happening, why it matters to you, and how you can position yourself to win. So get ready. This one's packed with game-changing insights, real talk, and maybe even a little tough love. Let's get into it. Oh, I
Your
matched
skin
our.
looks glowing.
Oh, thank you. I'm very proactive about taking care of it. So it
Yeah,
should be. It better be.
amazing. It looks amazing.
Thank you. You look amazing too.
Thanks, lady.
I'm in my classic crew neck. I'm like known for just always showing up in a crew neck of some sort. I just love sweatshirts. They're my thing. Right along with my nails and my crew necks.
I love that. Well, I'm typically in pink, And then somebody told me that I should wear more of this green recently, so I started doing it. But we've been rolling out a new where we asked our community to vote on a new logo, and I didn't realize how many women like have an aversion to pink, but they're like, but the pink makes sense for you. And so it's hysterical. And then the one they're choosing, I'm like, that's my least favorite. Anyways, it sparked energy. But
No, I
I
love
like
it.
when people are known for things. They're like, yeah. I mean, I showed up at a conference one day, not in pink, and women were like, well, I'm supposed to take a picture with you in pink.
Who
Like,
are
what?
you?
Yeah. Like they got mad. They're like, "Are you wearing pink tomorrow?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know this was
They're
a thing."
really expecting this pink from you.
Right. Yeah, they are. They are. So, which is funny. I mean, my phone is pink. My Stanley is pink. Like it's a thing. It really,
Hey, pink and green go great together, so you can mesh the two.
there you go. Yeah, I wear a lot of blue too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, I find myself wearing our brand colors just in everyday life too. It's like I'm taking on the brand, but we
yeah,
are the brand,
you
right?
are.
So,
I mean, when you're the CEO of it, when you're the leader of it, when it's your baby and it's your, your thought process. And I was leading a conversation last night with a bunch of investors who, aren't really understanding that their business is an extension of who they are and
mm,
that they're not like they don't get that they're allowed to have it that way. And in fact, I had a woman email me this morning and she's like, I'm new to your community. I don't really know what this is about, but like, I don't get it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, that's perfect. Because so much of us, we are not, we either have never been given permission or we don't take the permission to say, this is what I want. So therefore, this is what I'm going to build.
yeah. Yeah. I think it like when you embody your brand, it makes it yours. And it also, I feel like it's a sign that you are in alignment with what you're doing. And there's this old school line of thinking like separation from church and state, that type of thing. But when you're the owner, and I talk about this with money too, because separation of church and state doesn't actually exist in money
Right.
because we are the owner. We manage our business money the way we manage our personal money, and we're the same person. So we have to make it all work together. We have to do something that's in alignment with who we are, what we're passionate about, because that passion is what's going to get us through those really tough times that are surely going to come.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a perfect segue into
Perfect.
our conversation because after talking with you, I was really looking forward to today.
Me too.
Because I feel like even from the beginning of your story, which I'm going to have you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your story, but even from the very beginning of your story, you seemed to have this like divine calling through all of the phases that you went through to get you from where you started to where you're at now. And I'm
Yeah.
also excited to have somebody that specializes in real estate because it's never been like an interest of mine. Talking about alignment, I always feel so ick and ugh, I don't want to do it. Me and my ex-husband had a few real estate properties. And in the divorce, I was like, I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want to manage
Yeah.
that. I don't want to be a part of that. So I am happy to have you on because I am admittedly biased and it's not like in alignment with who I am.
Yeah. No, I love that though, because yeah, in a lot of ways, it's not in alignment with who I am. Like, I don't like managing rental properties. Ugh, terrible. Like, hate it. Hate it. Um, I don't like designing new properties. Nope. Like we have a rental house right now that we bought for cash for like really almost $1 back in the day. And we've held it for, I think, 12, 13 years. Our renters that just moved out, they had lived in it for 10 years. I'm so happy they bought their first house. It was a huge thing for them. Most real estate owners would be like, oh my God, your renter's moving out. I'm like, oh my gosh, my renter's moving out because they now can go buy their house. It's so exciting. But we are potentially going to flip it um, to get our cash out of it and to go invest in something that's actually more passive for us. We're going to go do something a little bit bigger and maybe put it into a fund or a syndication so that someone else is doing the day-to-day work, but we're still making money off of it. So that's the part of real estate that like fires me up. I'm like, wait, I can do that? Like, yes. Some people love fix and flips. They love picking out things. Like that just stresses me out. I hate picking out paint. No, thank you.
No.
Call Sherwin-Williams. What are the top five colors right now? Great. I'll take 7 gallons of that.
I love that. And
Yeah.
Pinterest. Yes, just
Yeah.
do that. Sounds good. Awesome. Well, yeah. So selfishly, like I'm also very personally interested in this
Yeah.
conversation because I have a natural aversion to it, but I think there is maybe a place for me. I just need to get past that. So
Yeah.
I'm so happy to have you here. I'm really excited. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing now and how you show up for women in your space.
Sure. So right now, I'm just completely honed in on the fact that I am a catalyst for women and their biggest, boldest dreams. I have a unique strength about me to see something in women and to point it out in them. And I've been studying this a lot about myself over the last decade, but really the last probably just a few months since we've gotten into 2025, I've started to think, what does that look like? Where does that come from? And one of the things that I realized, Chelsea, is that not everyone had a mom like me who said, you can be anything, you can do anything, you have to work for it, but you can get there. And so, one of my favorite things to do is to understand what makes you as a woman tick, and then to help you amplify that, turn that up. And so right now we're doing that in two ways. Well, I have two companies that I run that this is how I'm doing it. One is through a real estate investment fund and an investment firm, and it's called Celine Bright House. We specifically raise money from women and get them into real estate funding deals. And so what I love about that is for years, women have been ignored in the real estate investing space. They, when it comes to residential, the numbers are ridiculous. Like it's like 90% of realtors are women, 90% of designers and decorators are women, but only 31.6% of investors are women. So we decorate them and we sell them, but we don't own them. And when we look at commercial real estate, the numbers are even more like abysmal, disgusting, gross. And so what I like to do is help women uncover like how can they take the money that they're making either through a job that they're acquiring through a business and then make that money make more money. Because as you know, we work really freaking hard and we're trying to do it all. And why would you not take this thing that can actually reproduce itself if you only knew how to do that? So that's one way that I want to be a catalyst for women. And then the flip side of that is because so many women have gotten into real estate investing, right? Online education is huge. Join this mentor, join this guru, learn how to fix and flip, learn how to wholesale, learn how to uh, do a burr method, house hacking, like all this stuff. Women go and they start in these education programs and they teach them strategy on how to do one specific thing, but they don't actually teach the women how to align that with their unique proposition, with their strengths. And so that's what we're doing inside my other business, which is called Trailblazers. And that's where we support women who are business owners specifically in real estate investing. They're making active income off some kind of real estate investment project. Um, so yeah, it really all comes down to a couple of things though. It's about getting really clear on what it is that you want. Then it's about having the confidence and belief that you can actually have it. Then it's about taking the action to go get it. And my strengths do not lie in underwriting deals or managing the day-to-day operations. Um, and I will tell you that for years, I actually used to pray that God would just take my strengths away because they're so scary to me. It's scary to me to sit on your show and in front of your audience to say, "Yeah, I'm really good at sparking things in women." But when I step back and I look at what I'm really good at, that is my gift. And it is the thing that fires me up. And so when we talk about money specifically, how we make money, how we invest money, how we use money, I want that to be fully aligned with who I am. And so I make money because I can show women how to be confident in themselves and then do the damn hard thing. Because it's hard. It's hard.
It is, but we can do hard things.
Yeah.
And I love a few things about what you said, and it's perfect for this podcast and our mission to reach women specifically around money, around wealth. And I mean, it's no secret, it's very true that real estate holds a ton of wealth potential. And so I love that because you're right, when women hear about real estate investing, our minds automatically go to like, I have to get a rental and I have to deal with tenants. And if they get mad at me, they're going to pour concrete down the drain and then I'm going to lose a bunch of money, right? But already you've mentioned things that I'm sure it's the first time people are like, oh, I can get involved with real estate and not actually do that thing that makes me feel ick.
Yeah.
Um, and you're so accomplished. And
Mhm.
for you to sit here and say, no, I still get scared
Mhm.
sometimes because this is scary. And but it is a superpower. And the timing could not be more perfect for women in this world because of where we are at in the financial evolution of women just in the past 50 years being able to be truly financially independent. Um, and so I want you to share because I was so hit by your journey and where you started to get to where you currently are. So, can you share with us what that journey looked like?
Yeah. So I was the first generation in my family to go to college, to graduate from college. And I will say, kind of just backing up just a little bit because it's so part of my story. My mom had me very young. She was 17 when she had me. And by all intents and purposes, I should not be where I am today. Like the numbers were against me. I'll never forget. I was a latchkey kid back in the 80s and 90s, coming home, watching Oprah. And I remember there was this episode about teen pregnancy. And it said that 80% of children who are the result of teen pregnancy will then go on to become teen parents. And I remember I was like 10 to 12, like somewhere in that tween age. And I remember thinking, that will not be me. That will not be me. So I was very fortunate and very lucky. I did go to some of the best private schools in Dallas. My parents, my grandparents wrapped their arms around me and they're like, this girl is gonna make it. And so I went to college, but I didn't see myself as a business person. I didn't have that in my life. So I was very aligned towards nonprofits. A big thing at the school that I went to was around service and helping others out. And so I was put into nonprofits at pretty young ages. And so I thought, oh, well, that's just what I'll do. I'll go work in a nonprofit. So I did. I accidentally found a job. I graduated on Friday. I went to work on Saturday and I became a fundraiser, not knowing anything about how to raise money, not knowing anything about how nonprofits worked. But I have a tenacity about myself to just go for it. And again, going back to what I do now, I encourage people to do things. I was really great at encouraging other people to raise money. And so, because of that, I got promoted very fast. By the time I was 24, I was leading a team. I was already a director. my company was sending me all over the country to teach other fundraisers who had way more experience than me how to actually raise money. And then after that, I just kept kind of getting tapped on the shoulder. So I went from that first job, that first promotion, then I went into a larger organization. I was tapped there specifically to lead a women's giving group. So here I am, 28 years old. If you think back to when you're 28, you think you know everything. You're like, you don't know anything yet. Like, you don't know who you are. And that's not to say anything to the 28-year-olds who are listening to this, because keep listening. But you have so much growth that's still to happen. And so here I am. I am the director of this women's giving society where women are giving $10,000 gifts in their own name. When it first started, leaders of the organization thought it would be like the wives of philanthropists. What it wound up being is all these corporate women and all these women who are executives. Now, this is in 2008. So $10,000 back then was a whole lot more than it is now, right? $10,000, yes, I'm not saying it's not a lot of money, but the equivalent would probably be like somebody giving $30,000, $40,000 now. And so here I am sitting in rooms where all of these women who are like my mom's age and older, they're all my friends' bosses. That's the other thing. Like, for real, my friends worked for these women. They're like, how do you know my boss? I'm like, your boss is amazing. They're like, you see a different side of her. Um, but I was in these rooms and I was like, oh, this is it. I am meant to do this work. And um, so I had all these women take me under their wing and just say, like, what is it that you want out of your life and your career? And I knew that I wanted to be a CEO of a nonprofit. That was where I was going. The nonprofit that I worked for, which at the time was the United Way here in Dallas, the number two person was a woman. She became my mentor. We had breakfast every single month for 5 years. She's been the CEO of the organization for 13 years now. And, I was always positioned in these great places. But then the Women's Foundation tapped me on the shoulder. So I went there and I started learning more about women and girls and what was happening to them. And then I was tapped on the shoulder to be a chief development officer at another girls organization. And so at 34 years old, I'm I'm not even kidding. I have a corner office. It's so cliche. My office was on the second floor of our three-story building. I'm sitting in the corner. I have my desk and my conference table. My assistant sits right outside my office. Like, it was working girl. I mean, it just totally was. And I hated it.
Mm.
And at the time, I was crying in that corner office every day. I would get there and I would just shut the door and I would just cry because I was out of alignment with what I was doing. I had been around so many powerful women, and I thought at a young age, oh, if you want to make a difference in the world, you work for the organization that makes the difference in the world. And I'm not saying that's not true. It absolutely is true. But being around so many powerful women in my late 20s and early 30s showed me that if you go and make money, if you become a powerful woman, you can get a seat at the table that real change happens at. And so I turned 35 and I've been in this role for 10 months and I'm hating every second of it. I'm like, I can't do this. And so I quit. I quit
Wow.
without a job. I left my six-figure salary. I had worked so hard for that title. Like, the next step was literally I was going to spend 3 to 4 years there and then be a CEO. And I just quit. And luckily we were in a position where I could do that. Um, what's crazy is I'm coming up on my 45th birthday. Probably by the time this airs, I'll be 45. And the last 10 years has been a journey. And I would love to tell you that it's been easy, but it hasn't. It is not. And so when I left that, I took 6 months off to think about what I wanted to do. And I decided that I wanted to pour into women and become an executive coach. So I went and got certified. I did all of my training. And funny enough, I thought I would coach women who were business owners. That's what's also real weird about where I am today. I was like, I'm going to coach these business owners, having never been a business owner. Well, women were coming to me and they were saying, you got promoted really quickly. You got tapped on the shoulder for these amazing organizations. They came to find you. Um, you pivoted, you left. Like, teach me and help me do that.
Mm.
And so for about 8 years, that is what I focused on was women in corporate America. I had some entrepreneur clients, but it was really around helping women get promoted, move from the director level to the VP level, the VP level to the C-suite level, helping them switch jobs. I'm a big fan of if you don't like where you are, move your feet.
Yes.
Like, stop staying stuck. And again, so many women don't have either the internal voice. I say sometimes my internal voice is my mother. Like, they don't have the, if this doesn't work, you can pivot, you can change, but also like you get to do this thing called life once. So why are you going to do it in a way that makes you miserable? If you hate your job, find another one. If
Mm.
your boss sucks, quit, leave. Now, I'm not saying necessarily quit without a plan,
That
but
part, yes.
right. Um, But again, it was all about, even in coaching, it was how do I help women see something in themselves, tease that out of them so they'll go do the thing that they want to do. And it's kind of funny because now I am actually coaching women business owners because I became one and then I learned how that was. And I'm like, oh, that's hard and scary too, just like getting promoted to all the other ways. But yeah, I truly believe that I was put on this earth to help women become the best version of themselves. And I love it. It fires me up. I liken it to because I've been asked so much, especially since I've been in real estate investing, like why? Like why women? Why do you care? And I say that it's like your friend who's the animal lover. Like we all have that friend. We all have the friend who's like,
I'm thinking
I
of mine right
stopped,
now.
right? You're picturing her or
Yeah.
him, right? We all have that friend who's like, I saw a turtle on the road and I had to stop and help it, right? We all have that friend that when animal services, like when things are getting rough, they're like, go adopt the dog, right? And they can't tell you why. They can't be like, this is why I care. They're just like, I love animals. Like that's how I feel about women. Like, I don't know why I'm drawn to helping women. It's just so completely who I am that I can't separate it from who I am.
Like listening to your story, and I can 100%, like, I'm nodding my head when you're like, I was put on this earth to help women. I'm like, listen to your story. Yes, you
Yeah.
are. Like, two things that really stood out to me after we talked was the way that you grew up with such strong women leadership and mentorship. You were around all of these corporate women who, at the time, were the first. Like
Yes.
they were the ones to use your words. These are the women that were shattering the glass ceilings. And like you were there.
Yeah.
You were in the rooms, you were working with them, you were making connections with them. They mentored you. Like, how amazing to just be in that place.
Oh, it was crazy because, again, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I came of age in the early aughts. That's when I graduated from college and started working. And here I was in the room with women who were, you know, one of only two women in their law school graduating class. The first female partner in accounting, the first female partner at her law firm. Um, this was before the data had come out that says when we have at least three women on an executive team or three women on a board of directors, the companies do better. Like this was still at the beginning of all of that. I remember having conversations when I was at the foundation with women who were like, oh, yeah, I hid my pregnancy. I had to lie to my bosses.
Mm.
I could be fired for saying this or fired for doing that. I'll never forget this woman, Kay. She was like, "Oh yeah, I was fired because they found out I was pregnant." And I was like, "What?" Like that's so it was. I was just far enough away from them. And then even my mentors who were kind of so those were maybe the baby boomer mentors that I had. And then the older Gen Xers. So I'm at that very cusp at the end of Gen X. My older Gen Xer mentors, they were the women who um, bought their first suits at Brooks Brothers, and they were navy suits, and they were designed and tailored to look just like men's suits. Again, going back to working girl, like this was absolutely a thing. And they had these little red bow ties that they wore with them. And the idea was you couldn't be who you were. You had to be a version of the man
To
who was
emulate the masculine to
correct.
succeed.
Correct, because the man was allowed to be there and you somehow got there, but they weren't really ready. I had mentors who were like, "Oh yeah, I had to wear closed-toed shoes and pantyhose," right? And here I am in the 2000s and I'm like, "Oh, it's so different." Like, and it's funny because I do look back and we talked about like what we wear and like our nails and bright colors and all that. Like part of the reason I'm so obnoxious when it comes to wearing colors is because in the mid 20 teens, I was told wear a black suit, wear a gray suit. You can have a small pop of color. When I cut my hair into a bob, I had a CEO say, I like this look. When I wore bright red nail polish, that didn't get as much attention in terms of we like this as bubble bath did, right? So I was still told, tame it down. And now I'm like, tame? What the hell's tame? We don't have time to be tame, especially when we're talking about money and our careers and the life we want. Like, no way. But yes, having that seat, and I wouldn't even say it was a seat at the table because my seat was in a chair behind the table. That's literally where I would sit. And I would watch these women be at the table. And so it's exciting. And it's exciting to see what young women are doing too, because I mean, now I look at them and they're like, what do you mean you can't wear bright green nail polish? Like,
Yeah,
obvious.
and this was all in our lifetimes. And that's what
Correct.
I'm saying why it's so powerful because you were with the women fighting at the front lines, the ones cooperating just so they could stay there and pave the way
Yeah.
for future generations. And that is so powerful if you really just sit and think about that and take that in. And the second thing that I really admired about your story is your ability and the courage that you had to say, oh my gosh, I'm where like I have arrived, right? This is where seemingly my journey has been bringing me, and I'm here and I'm in this wonderful place, and I have the corner office and the view and the assistant outside my door, but I'm not happy. I'm leaving. Like, how much courage does that take? And how can women get a taste of that? Like, give us permission.
Yeah. Um, Courage was absolutely what was needed. And I will tell you, it's a real mind F when you are sitting at the corner of everything you've ever wanted, and this isn't it at all.
Mm,
And part of the permission that I'll give to any woman is that we're ever growing and we're ever expanding. And part of life is about evolving. And so you can also wake up at the corner of this is everything I said I wanted, and this isn't it at all. And that admitting it to yourself is actually the hard part. The
mm,
quitting wasn't the hard part. The admitting it was the hard part. Because when
mhm.
I admitted it, I had to be okay with what are people going to think of me?
Of course. Yep.
And I will tell you, one of those women that I had a seat at the table with, who was a baller, I mean, her resume is like ridiculous, called me on the phone and said, "You're making the biggest mistake of your career." Yeah. Like, I choked back tears, got off the phone with her, cried. Like, I have spent money on therapy to get over how she said that to me.
Like the worst possible thing you could ever see happening.
The worst possible thing. Because here I'm thinking I'm taking control of my life, and a woman who I adore, who did break glass ceilings, who literally became the first woman at a Fortune 5 company. She worked at a Fortune 5 company. And in fact, that company was many times the number one company in the world. Okay. So Baller said, you're effing this up. So it's not necessarily the courage to quit, it's the courage to admit it. And it's the courage to say, I actually think there's something else for me, and I'm going to be okay going to chase it. I'm going to go pursue it. And one of the things that I will also say to you is this: I've been out of this game for 10 years, right? The fundraising game. I truly believe that if I needed to get a job in fundraising, it would take me less than 90 days because it's still a skill I have. It's still something I know how to do. I've consulted a couple of times since I left with some nonprofits. So I'm actually not worried. And now that I'm far enough away from it, I'm like, oh, I can always go back. But if I hadn't done what I did, I wouldn't have what I've had over the last 10 years. And that actually scares me more. So, a lot of times, giving yourself permission, even like when it comes to a job, when it comes to finances, right? The thing where when we talk about like money is risky. Jobs are risky. Career is risky, right? Because you're putting yourself out there and saying, this is what I want. And so we think, oh, mitigate risk at all signs that it's coming barreling towards you. And what I'm saying is go into the risk, admit the risk, see where you can mitigate it from a plan, right? So maybe you're not like me, you don't just quit. Now, I will say I couldn't be the number two person at an organization and figure out what I was going to go do. Like, it would have been very unfair to the organization. So that's why I quit. Um, so it really is, though, about, and I've been studying a lot recently about why we actually do things. And we are more apt to do something for our future self than our current self. So when you think about your future self, and I think we're also in this very unique time period because we're now 5 years from the start of COVID. And for a lot of people, they think, oh, 5 years seems so long, or 5 years doesn't seem long enough, right? But we all have this time capsule where life completely changed, where you can look back and say, okay, 5 years ago, my life looked completely different. Then everything changed. Then I kept going. And so when you think about how scared you might be, or nervous, or anxious, or worried, or fear of failure, or not confident, or fill in the blank with whatever your limiting belief is, what I want to say to you is the 5 years will pass, right? Like we're all very clear that the world shut down, we lived through what we lived through, and now it's 5 years later. And so when you think of yourself now, 5 years from now, ask yourself, do I want to be where I am today and where that person is on her track? Or am I willing to risk something a little bit bigger or a lot bit bigger because I know 5 years is going to pass anyway? And courage is one of those things, and confidence. And I speak a lot about this. I've done a TEDx on confidence. Typically, what happens is we think, oh, when I feel confident, I'm going to go do the hard thing. And in fact, what we have to do is we do the hard thing and then our confidence builds. It's just like working out. It's just like working out. I would love to tell you that my biceps are getting stronger, but I haven't worked out in 3 weeks. So guess what? They're atrophying, right? I got to get back in the gym this afternoon, back in the gym tomorrow. I got to get back in it because I can't just think about my biceps getting bigger. I got to go do the hard work and then they get bigger. So that's the same with confidence and courage. It's about taking the step. What's cool though is that you've actually been doing hard things your whole life. You just have to
Mm,
remember it.
I was thinking that when you brought up COVID, like if that is not proof and a testimony for each of us individually that like we can get through hard things, we can be sitting in uncertainty and be scared and terrified and make it. Like
Yeah.
there's your timeline of proof for yourself right there. And I think this is the perfect segue to talk about like why now at this
Yeah.
point in history
Yeah.
and with the great wealth transfer that is being whispered about, like why is right now so important for women to exercise that confidence and be okay with risk and really embrace everything that you've talked about to this point?
Yeah. So we're at a critical juncture in human history. We are about to experience, and we are experiencing already, it's already happening. We are experiencing the greatest wealth transfer in human history ever, 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 ever. So there's a lot said right now about where wealth is, who holds wealth, all of the things. And I'm not here to debate any of that, right? We are where we are, and baby boomers hold a lot of wealth. And baby boomers are their life is coming to closer to the end. You know, our oldest baby boomers are in their older 70s. We obviously still have people in their 80s and 90s living, but as we look at how much money this generation holds, it is going to transfer. And specifically, even if we don't even think about it transferring from generation to generation, when we look at couples who are in, a traditional male-female relationship, we know that the data tells us that women outlive their partners by an average of 7 years,
Mhm.
right? Um, so I don't know about your grandparents. I don't know about your parents, but like I take my grandparents. They were 12 years apart. They actually died 13 years apart, right? So they were around the same age, but my grandmother lived 13 years without my grandfather. And this is going to continue to happen. So money is going to transfer to the woman and then to children. And sometimes it'll just skip and it'll go straight to children, right? Um, when we look at this amount of money, right now, women in the US control $14 trillion. We are about to acquire $30 trillion before 2030. So we are more than doubling the amount of money that we are going to control in less than a decade. Plus, that number is shifting. I read a report the other day that it might be $38 trillion. And I was over in Paris for a meeting late last fall. This isn't just in the US. This is happening in Europe as well. It will happen in parts of Asia as well. This is a worldwide global thing for first world economies. Okay. So the money is coming. And here's the thing, going back to what you said in the beginning, Chelsea, and you and I are both fired up about this because we're like, how are we not further along? Because only 50 years ago we could have gotten a credit card in our own name. Again, my grandmother, who I adore and love, was my best friend, died in 2021. In 2021, her credit card still had my grandfather's name on it. He died in 2008. When they bought their house, she could not be on the loan,
Mm,
right? If she was a business owner, she could not have gotten a business loan as a woman until 1988. Okay. 1988. All of us Taylor Swift fans remember what she's born in 1989. So like you could be a year older than Taylor Swift and like that's how long a woman could get a business loan in her own name. Okay, that's nothing. In the scale of time, that's nothing. Of course we're behind. Of course. But here's the thing, the money is coming and big banks are paying attention to it. Big financial institutions are freaking out about this. And I'll tell you why they're freaking out about it. They're freaking out about it because they don't know what the hell we're going to do with it. Other stats that I think are just absolutely mind blowing is that when a woman, either through a divorce or a death of a spouse, um, gets control of money, within 24 months, 90% of them make a change in their financial advisor.
Mm.
And many of them, up to 80%, do it in the first 12 months. So here's the thing, okay? So Bob dies, Sally gets the money. Sally recognizes she doesn't have a relationship with Steve, the financial advisor, because guess what? Steve hasn't really given a shit about her for the last couple of decades. And she goes to sit down with Steve and she's like, "You don't understand what it's like to be me, Steve." And Steve says, "Oh, well, when I worked with Bob, and I don't know about y'all, but I'm like, I don't really care what Bob did. I'm going to go do my own thing." And so they leave. Again, move with their feet and they take their money. And so $30 trillion just in the US right now, the banks are like, is this money going to leave us? Is this money going to walk out the door? Are we still going to have it? Because in the world of finance, it's all about resources under management, assets under management, AUM. That's what they care about. Goldman cares how much money they're controlling for you. Bank of America cares how much money they're controlling for you. So when you Google the Great Wealth Transfer and you see all these CEOs and all these head of investment banks and all these head of wealth management teams talking about this, it's because they're nervous.
And rightfully so.
Absolutely.
And I think that's an amazing thing for women to be just aware of about
Yes.
how corporate has always focused on profit. That's their main focus, right? And historically, for 99% of the life of money, that has been men. So they
Right.
haven't been worried about us. And now they're, like you said, like, oh shit, we've been ignoring women all this time and they're about to hold all this wealth. So be aware. Marketing, advertising, subliminal messaging. And like you mentioned, find somebody who is a good fit for you. Know what you want, what's important to you, and find your fit, not people adapting to profits fit.
Right. And so one of the things that has happened, um, and I love how you brought up marketing, is that all of a sudden it's we're going to market different to women. But here's the thing, women invest money differently. We know that. We know how women treat money differently because that data and how we've been measuring that has been happening for decades. And so the World Bank actually knows that when you give a woman a dollar, whether she earns it or it's given to her, 90 cents goes back into her family and community. When you give the same dollar to a man, 30 cents, maybe 40 cents goes back to his family and community. So when we talk about things like the stock market, when we talk about investing in real estate, private equity, venture capital, when we talk about and we won't go into all the other alternatives like crypto and oil and gas and things like that. But when we talk about major drivers of economies, like Fortune 500 publicly traded companies, right? What shareholders want. When we talk about real estate, venture capital, and private equity, we want different things. We want to see a different impact. Women actually care about the community impact and they want to know what it's making, what it's doing. So, like the real estate fund that we run, we specifically invest in smaller strip centers. So, not a power center like where your Home Depot or your Target or your Walmart is, but the local strip center that is 5 minutes from your house, where your nail salon is, your hair salon is, the ballet place where your kid takes school, maybe your insurance guys there, right? They're smaller local businesses. And one of the reasons why we invest in them is because when we make those centers better, we actually drive more business. And why do we care about that? Because they're small business owners. And how many of those small business owners are also women business owners? Quite a lot. And so we want the place down the street from your community to be safer. We want to put in lighting. We want to make it prettier. We want you to be able to park there after 7 o'clock at night and not feel like this is a dangerous place, right? And we want our business owners to do better so they make more money so they can go open another location or they can send their kids to college where they want or they can buy their dream house or whatever it is that they want for their life. And so when we look at this, the scary part though is that this money is coming so fast. It's coming so fast. And if we don't prepare for it, what will happen is it will become like winning the lottery or like an athlete getting sign-on bonuses or big contracts.
Mm.
And so not only do women have a huge opportunity,
We have to do
there's
right by it.
to do right by it. To do right by it. Because someone in your family has either earned or acquired that money. So now you can either take it and make it bigger for the rest of your family, or you can lose it. And I'll just give you an anecdote around this. And this is kind of the thing that scares me as someone who's finally paying attention to finance. Because I will say this, I'm not a finance person. Like, let me tell you why I want to make money. Because I got big things to do in the world. Because I have seats at tables that I want to be at. So I want to make money so I can do that. I want to make money because there's parts of the world that I want to explore and experience. So that's why I want to make money. Okay. So every one of us has a different reason why we want to make money. Understanding that is a huge piece. But the thing is, if we're not prepared, it could be gone. I have a
What comes
girlfriend whose
quick can
sis
leave quicker.
girl. I have a girlfriend whose sister got divorced, had a sizable financial um package. Is that what you say? A package. In her settlement, she got $750,000. In 3 years, that money was gone.
And that story is so common. And that's why I asked that question. And I think you answered it so well of like, we have to be prepared as women. And I know that's one of my missions. It's obviously one of yours because you're already doing the things, right? We have to be prepared. If we really want to leverage this, we have to do right by that. And what that means for our listeners is educating yourself, not only on financial literacy, but in opportunities like with you and your program. And that is going to require of you, woman listening to this podcast right now, to be comfortable being uncomfortable, to
Yeah.
do the hard things, to be unsure, and do that knowing that you always have resources and opportunities. There is always a way. There's always a person. There's always a YouTube video. There is absolutely nothing, I need you to hear this, that you cannot learn right now, today. And so we just may have to embrace that inner badass,
Yeah.
like you say.
We have
And
to.
so, as we wrap it up, tell us how we can do that. How can we embrace that inner badass so that women across the globe, I got goosebumps when you said that. Like, this is not just the United States, this is
It's
everywhere.
not.
Like, we have a huge opportunity here. How can we embrace our inner badass so that we don't squander it?
Yeah. So, two things. Number one is don't listen to the lies that you've been fed by Madison Avenue and advertisers. Okay. Here's the thing. You can get the $750,000 and go buy the handbags and the car and the house and the whatever, get the Botox, the boob job, whatever it is that you want. But I don't want you to take that money and use it to do that. I want you to take that money, invest it, make more money, and use that money. Okay. Because part of the way that I think that women screw up is actually not our fault. I believe and I've actually been talking about this for as long as I think probably since high school. We are fed a load of garbage when it comes to you're not pretty enough, thin enough, tall enough, your butt's not big
Amen.
enough,
Say
your
it.
skin's not young enough, you don't live in the right place, you don't drive the right car, my friends, I was talking to a friend the other day. You're a stay-at-home mom, you're screwing up your kids. Your work, you're screwing up your kids, right? Madison Avenue, like go back and watch Mad Men for real. Advertisers are designed to tell us that something is wrong with us, and the way we fix it is by buying more stuff, whether it's physical or it's having a service done to your body, your face. Listen, I'm not gonna lie, yeah, me too. I love Botox. I need to get mine redone, right? So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying wealthy people get wealthier because they invest their money and they only spend what comes off of it.
Yeah.
Okay? So
Priority.
if wealth is coming to you, if money is coming to you, and there's a lot of different numbers out there that says what it could be. I don't care if you're getting $25,000 from somebody or you're getting $250 million. Most of us will get more than we think because we don't actually know, because we don't actually talk about it. And the way that we're actually getting more is through real estate because baby boomers have made their wealth through real estate because they bought a house 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? There's a meme going on right now that said, this sums up my life in one thing. Somebody bought a house in 1999 for like $112,000, and today in 2025 it's worth $3 million or something crazy like that. That's where the wealth is coming from, okay? So it's there is you've got to invest the money. Like act like you don't have it when you get it.
Yes. Yes.
It's not in your world right now. So how do you make it bigger? So that is one thing. Don't buy into it. And the way you do that in your your inner badass is about knowing that you are enough without all of those things. It's about knowing that the dreams and goals you have for your life, for your children, for your legacy, like they're worthy. And going back to the hard thing, there are so many easy buttons that we push. Embracing your inner badass is not about pushing the easy button. Just like I said earlier, the courage for me wasn't quitting the job. The courage for me was admitting that I didn't want to be in it. Investing your money is not the hard part. I promise it's actually not. There are amazing people who can help you. There are funds like us who are turning up every day who, like, we're talking about different things. We're teaching you in a different way. The courage where you find your badass is by saying, I'm going to delay some gratification and dopamine hit right now because I'm going to go for what is most important. That's how you do that.
Woo! Mic drop. And as you're saying this, I'm thinking about the beginning of our conversation where you were like, listen, I know that a lot of women did not grow up with a mother like I had. And I think that that is a lot of the struggle, especially because, you said it's about being okay without all of those things. So I want to maybe throw you a curveball, maybe not, but to close this out, can you embrace your mother and how she showed up for you and speak to the women who are listening right now that did not have that mother and tell us what we need to hear?
Gosh, Chelsea, you're gonna make me cry. Um, yeah, every day when I was a kid, my mom would sit me down and it was always at bedtime and she would say, you can be and do anything that you want. You can be and do anything that you want. You have to work for it. Lady, if you're out there and you're like, really, me? Like, yeah, you. Like, you get to do this one time. And there is a reason why you are here. And maybe you don't know yet. Maybe it hasn't. hit you the way it's hit Chelsea and I, and that's okay. But there is some purpose that you play in this great old, there is some purpose that you play in this greater thing that we call life. I truly believe, I truly believe because there's only one you, that the one and only you is destined for greatness. And if you have to get up every morning and look yourself in the mirror and say, this crazy lady named Caytie Langford says that I can do it, and you have to keep saying, Caytie believes I can do it, I believe I can do it, until you actually start believing you can do it, like do that. Because if there's ever been doubt put in your head, I want to tell you that you can replace that doubt with belief. Because just like my mom told me, you can be and do anything, anything. Y'all, I have a degree in recreation, park, and tourism sciences. I got it before Amy Poehler did that silly show. Okay. My mom, that actually is the one time my mom, I called her when I changed my major. She was like, what in the hell did you do? Are you kidding? Are you going to be a camp counselor for the rest of your life? Right. Um, I had the woman who was my mentor who literally said, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. You know, crazy things happen. You just have to believe it. And the cool thing about your brain is if you talk to your brain enough, your brain actually rewires itself through neuroplasticity where you do believe it. So
Mm.
every morning, get up and be like, yeah, I believe in my biggest goals and dreams. High five yourself every time you go to the bathroom. I believe in my biggest goals and dreams. I believe in my biggest goals and dreams. Do it over and over, just one day at a time, just like the biceps, just like going out and doing my bicep curls. My my arms get stronger every day when I do that. And every day you tell yourself that, whether it's my voice, your mom's voice, your voice, borrow my mom's voice, like it will work. It just does. I don't know how. I'm not a brain scientist, but I can tell you it works.
Oh my gosh, that was perfect. We don't even need to put you. I have no comeback for that. No, that is amazing. Um, this was just as powerful as I thought it was going to be.
Oh my gosh,
So,
it's
thank you for
amazing.
showing up and being you and bringing you to the table. It is so much appreciated.
Thank you.
If
Well, and
people
I
want
think,
to,
like, I think the thing is, not to just go on for a second, but even I didn't have the courage. Like, when I say I was praying for God to take away my gifts, I literally remember sitting in my bedroom just a few years ago, kneeling down, which I'm not a kneeler in prayer. Like, that's not me. I went to Catholic school, but it's not like that's not who I am. And I remember saying, God, just let me be able to do spreadsheets. Just let me be able to, like, just this gift you've given me is too hard. So if you're feeling that, if you're like, damn, this scares me, this is too much, it's too big. Like if you're like, it looks so much easier for that person. It doesn't. It doesn't. It is hard for all of us.
mm-hmm.
You just
Yeah.
have to keep going. You just have to, and now I think, oh gosh, like how boring would it have been for me if God was like, okay, or the universe or whatever you want to call it was like, great, now you're an Excel master. I'd be like, y'all, I open an
Take it
Excel,
back. Hold
my
on.
wrist. Take it back.
Give it back.
But if you are an Excel master, there's a way for you to use that gift to do what you're supposed to do. Exactly.
Excel nerd. That's how it
There you
started.
go.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite classes in college, and I did not like many classes in college, so that says something.
I literally changed my major so I could talk about play all day at school. I was like, yeah, taking a class about golf courses. That sounds fun. Let's do that.
Whee! Oh, amazing. Where can people go if they want to hear more of you, see more of you?
Yeah. So, Caytie Langford is my handle on everything: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. I'm actually working on I'm working with a team right now to not be as quiet as I have been. I don't think I'm quiet, but there's a lot of people who are like, people can't find you. Um, so I'm busting out with some new content over the next couple of months, and it's going to be talking more about this and what this all looks like. But Caytie Langford, and then the firm that I'm a part of is called Celine Bright House. And then if you're a real estate investor who's a woman doing business and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to do this by myself anymore, we're trailblazers, women in real estate investing.
You heard it, ladies, and all of those links will be attached in the show notes. I'm also going to include your TED Talk because I love TED Talks. So,
Yeah, talk about a like dream. Like again, one,
right? But I'm still waiting my turn.
oh, lady, I can help you get that.
See, live opportunities. If you just ask, something will come. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Like on my bucket list. That's a wrap on today's episode of Always and Never About the Money. I hope this conversation reminded you that nobody's journey is as effortless as it looks, but that doesn't mean you're not exactly where you need to be. If you love today's conversation, be sure to check out Caytie Langford and all the incredible work she's doing. You can find her at Caytie Langford on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, plus her firm, Celine Bright House. And if you're a woman in real estate investing looking for a community that gets it, check out Trailblazers Women in Real Estate Investing. All the links are in the show notes, including her TED Talk, because let's be real, who doesn't love a good TED Talk? And before you go, I want to hear from you. Got a money question, a story to share, or a financial challenge you want to unpack? Send it my way, and I might feature it in an upcoming episode. You can reach out on our website, moneymastery.work, and submit any question you have. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with another woman who needs to hear it. And remember, it is always and never about the money. See you next time. If you liked this episode, be sure to show us some love by subscribing and turning on those notifications. You can find me on Instagram under The Money Whisper, and also where we encourage you to contribute, to join the conversation, ask questions, and share your thoughts so we can create more episodes tailored exactly to what you want to know about money. I'm your host and your personal money whisperer. Until next time, remember, it is always and never about the money.